Okay, guys, we're live in Israel, and I guess you could call this the Hanukkah special, because we're going to be reading about Hanukkah on this last day and this first day of winter. And Kenya here, he's going to give you exactly the scriptures that talks about Hanukkah and the reason why we're here. You want to read that, Kenya?
First Maccabees, chapter 6. First Maccabees, chapter 5 and 52. Then they crossed the Jordan in the large plain before Bashan. Judas kept rallying the laggards and encouraging the people all the way until they came to the land of Judah. So they went up to Mount Zion with joy and gladness and offered burnt offerings because they had returned in safety. Not one of them had fallen.
So now most people don't know that when you start talking about Zion, and swing over there to Zion right there, guys. When you start talking about Zion and the altar that's built inside of there, that altar was built there during the time of the Maccabees. The Maccabees had came and they had actually rebuilt that altar on Mount Zion. You see, so people don't really understand that what happened was that the temple was destroyed or defiled, and they had actually returned to Mount Zion. Mount Zion was the focus of the whole house of Israel at the Maccabean period. Continue reading, Kenny.
Chapter 6, First Maccabees, chapter 6. During the last days of Antiochus Epiphanes, King Antiochus was going through the upper province when he heard that Elymas in Persia was a city famed for the wealth in silver and gold. Its temple was very rich, containing gold, sheaths, breastplates, weapons, left there by Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king who first reigned over the Greeks. So he came, and he tried to take the city and plunder it. But he could not because the plan had become known to the citizens, and they withstood him in battle. So he fled, and a great disappointment left there to return to Babylon. Then someone came to him in Persia and reported that the armies that had gone into the land of Judah had been routed, that Lysias had gone first with a strong force, but had turned and fled before the Jews, before the Israelites. Then the Judeans had grown strong from the arms, supplies, abundant spoils that had taken from the armies. They had cut down, that they had torn down the abomination that he had erected on the altar in Jerusalem.
So our people came here to Jerusalem, and we tore down the abomination that was set up in Zion. Continue reading, brother.
That they had torn down the abomination that he had erected on the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had surrounded the sanctuary with high walls as before, and also Bethzora, his town. When the king heard this news, he was astounded, badly shaken. He took to his bed and became sick from disappointment, because things had not turned out for him as he had planned. He lay there for many days, because deep disappointment continually gripped him, and he realized that he was dying. So he called all his friends and said to them, "Sleep has departed from my eyes, and I am downhearted with worry. I said to myself, to what distress I have come, and into what great flood I now am plunged. For I was kind and beloved in my power. But now I remember the wrong I did in Jerusalem. I seized all its vessels of silver and gold, and I sent to destroy the inhabitants of the Judeans without good reason. I know that it's because I know that it's because that these misfortunes have come upon me."
So now we're saying to all the kings so far now, because Zion is desolate and wasted, they've seized all of our holy vessels. So we're telling you again to return all our holy vessels to Mount Zion and to us, that we can rebuild this house. Continue reading, Kenya.
I seized all its vessels of silver and gold, and I sent to destroy the inhabitants of the Judeans without good reasons. I know that it's because of this that these misfortunes have come upon me. Here I am, perishing of bitter disappointment in a strange land. Then he called for Philip, one of his friends, and made him ruler over all his kingdom. He gave him the crown and robes and signet, so that he might guide his son Antiochus and bring him up to be king. Then King Antiochus died there that 149th year. When Lysias learned that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus the king's son to reign.
Okay, let's stop right there, Kenya. Let's stop. Hold up. Now here, this is the point right here. Read that.
1 Maccabees, chapter 4 and 36. Then Judas and his brothers said, "See, our enemies are crushed. Let us go up to clean the sanctuary and dedicate it." So all the army assembled and went up to Mount Zion.
So everybody came up to Mount Zion to dedicate the house. Continue reading, brother.
There they saw the sanctuary desolate, the altar profane, and the gates burned.
So the same altar that you see in there now, the house that you see that they came here, and the same conditions that we're looking at the house now, they came and they saw it. Continue to read.
In the court they saw bushes sprung up as in a thicket, or as one of the mountains. They saw also the chambers of the priests in ruins. Then they tore their clothes and mourned with great lamentation. They sprinkled themselves with ashes.
So that's why the brothers got on the sackcloth right now, you see. And what's happening right now, because the house right now is in desolate, it's wasted. And we should be mourning and not celebrating. Continue reading, brother.
And then, excuse me. And they tore their clothes and mourned with great lamentation. They sprinkled themselves with ashes and fell face down on the ground and prostrated. And when the signal was given with the trumpet, they cried out to the Shamaim. Then Judah detailed men to fight against those in the citadel until he had cleaned the sanctuary. He chose blameless priests devoted to Torah, and they cleansed the sanctuary and removed the defiled stones to be unclean, to be an unclean place.
So they took, he appointed men. You see the fort? That's the citadel. We're looking at it. We're reading it, and we're there. He appointed men to take the fort. The altar was in the fort in Zion. The sanctuary was in the fort in Zion. Not on Moriah. In the fort in Zion. Continue to read, brother.
They deliberated what to do about the altar of burnt offering, which had been profaned. And they, though it best to tear it down, so that it would not be a lasting shame to them that the Gentiles had defiled it.
So the altar that you see there now is the altar that Judas never erected. When you see us going into the high place, standing before the altar, that's the altar that they erected at this time.
And they thought it best to tear it down so that it would not be a lasting shame to them, the Gentiles, had defiled it. So they tore down the altar and stored the stones in a covenant place on the temple hill until a prophet should come to tell what to do with them. Then they took unhewed stones, as Torah directed, and built a new altar, like the former one. They also rebuilt the sanctuary and the interior of the temple, of the tabernacle, and consecrated the courts. They made new holy vessels and brought the lampstand, the altar of incense.
So they brought the lampstand, and the altar of incense into Zion, into the sanctuary, into the holy place in Zion. And they rebuilt the altar. They brought the lampstand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the point. Not 9. The lampstand of 6. Keep reading, brother.
They made new holy vessels and brought the lampstand, the altar of incense, and the table into the temple, into the tabernacle. Then they offered incense on the altar and lit the lamps on the lampstand. And these gave light into the tabernacle. They placed the bread on the table and hung up the curtains. Thus they finished all the work they had undertaken. Early in the morning on the 25th day of the 9th month.
On the 25th day, the beginning of what is called Hanukkah, Keep reading.
Which is the month of Chislev, is the 148th year. They rose and offered sacrifice as Torah directs, on the new altar of the burnt offering that they have built.
On the new altar that's there right now, that they have built. Continue reading, brother.
At the very season, and on that very day that the Gentiles have profaned.
So that day was the same day that the Gentiles that's right now ruling profaned it. So now, are we celebrating the day that it was profaned or the day that it was rebuilt? As long as this house is desolate, how are we celebrating? Who's celebrating what? The Gentiles are celebrating the day it was destroyed. Because it's still desolate now. We shouldn't be celebrating until it's built. Continue reading, brother.
Excuse me, Salaki. At that very season, on that very day that the Gentiles have profaned it, it was dedicated with songs and harp and lutes and cymbals. All the people fell on their face and prostrated and worshiped and increased and blessed the heaven who had prospered them. So they celebrated the dedication of the altar for 8 days and joyful offered burnt offerings. They offered a slaughter of well-being and a thanksgiving offering. They decorated the front of the temple with golden crowns and small shields. They restored the gates and the chambers for the priests.
Now all this is within Mount Zion. Within Mount Zion. What you see there today, this is what they did. Keep reading.
And fitted them with doors. There were very great joy among the people, and the disgrace brought by the Gentiles was removed. Then Judah and his brother and all the assembly of Israel determined that every year at the season of the day of Hanukkah.
So Hanukkah was centered around not 9 candlesticks, but the 7 here and the dedication of the altar. What are we doing, Israel? What are we doing? Following the traditions of men. Keep reading.
Then Judah and his brothers and all the assembly of Israel determined that every year at the season of the days of Hanukkah, of the altar season, that the days of at the season, the days of Hanukkah of the altar should be observed with joy and gladness for 8 days, beginning with the 25th day of the month of Chislev. At that time, the fortified Mount Zion with high walls.
And fortified what?
Mount Zion.
Mount Zion. The fort. Fortified Mount Zion, where inside is a holy place, the sanctuary of David, was rebuilt, and what we're looking at right now was all centered around Hanukkah. Keep reading.
At that time, they fortified Mount Zion with high walls, strong towers all around to keep the Gentiles from coming and trampling them down as they had done before. Judas stationed a garrison there to guard it. He also fortified Beth-zur to guard it, so the people might have a stronghold that faced the Idumean, the Gentiles,
the Edomites. So what's happening here now? So now who else kept the dedicated of Hanukkah? You want to read that, brother?
St. John chapter 10, verse 22.
Read loud, brother.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication.
Now it's the feast of dedication. Give me, brother.
And it was winter. And Hamashiach, Jesus, walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
So now what's happening now? So now let's read that. Let's read that in Aramaic. What they say there, my son? You see, so what happened here? It says dedication in English, but in the Aramaic it says what? Hanukkah. So Yeshua came up and celebrated Hanukkah according to not the 9 candlesticks, but according to the dedication of altar in Zion. You see, so now, why are we standing here? Why are we in this spot right now? Read that book while we are standing in this spot.
Market a pool.
By the sheep market. You see, so here we are standing in the sheep market. There goes the pool right there. You see, and we got the sheep gate. Continue reading. Continue.
Which is called in the Hebrew tongue, Beit Hasi, having 5 porches.
Having 5 pillars, 5 porches. Count them. Turn around. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This here is before the sheep gate. The sheep gate, and the people would come and bring in the sheep, and they would slaughter them right here for the market and for the celebration of the people. And this was the porch. And on my Facebook page, I have a picture of this exact type of slaughter table where they was using not just for sheep, but for also cows. So now the scripture says that this was where? Read it again, Baruch.
St. John, chapter 5, verse 2. Now there is at Jerusalem.
At where?
At Jerusalem.
At where?
At Jerusalem.
At
Jerusalem.
At the real.
Jerusalem.
This here is an absolute proof that we are standing in the real Jerusalem before the citadel of the real Mount Zion. So now, all we want to say and we want to praise the Most High and stand in line towards Zion, everyone. And you can say the prayer, King.
Ilallah, ilallah, fa'iya'i ala'i. In the name of your Son, Jesus, all praises, ilallah. We give thanks to you, Abba, for bringing us here during your season of Hanukkah, as it is written in Torah. We thank you, Abba, fa'iya'i ala'i, for bringing us and returning us as the prophecy says, Abba. We ask to bring our people to the 4 corners, from the 4 corners of the earth. Ilallah, all praises, fa'iya'i ala'i.
And what you want to say, King? Return what?
It's time to return, to rebuild Mount Zion, as it is written in prophecy, for the children of Israel to return to the 4 corners of the earth, to return from the 4 corners of the earth, to rebuild Mount Zion. Ilallah, ilallah, ilallah. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
So at this time, we're asking for all of those that can't afford to come up to Zion, to come up. Come up to rebuild the house. Come up, all those that can't afford. All those that can't afford, remain in faithful reparations. All those brothers that the wealthy, well-to-do, that can't afford, come up to Zion. Come up in caravans. Come up before the Valley of Achor in your caravans. All of the elderly people that can't be in caravans, that's on Social Security, we're asking you to come up into the return into the mountains of Israel with your Social Security money, and don't retire in Mississippi or Jordan. Retire up in the mountains of Israel. This is the call that we're putting out right now and saying, and what you say, King?
To return to rebuild Mount Zion, to rebuild the tabernacle for our people. How can we build your own homes without the Most High house laying it desolate? How can we come to Mount Zion? How can we stay in that captivity while the Most High house stays desolate? All that has the ear, the 144,000, return to rebuild Mount Zion, as it is written. Hallelujah. 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 Return to Mount Zion. Return. Israelites return. Israelites return. Israelites return. Israelites return. Israelites return. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We'll see you in Zion.
We'll see you in Zion. Return.